We're here at Los Niches near Corico, Chile. We're looking at some trees on Gisela 6. We have Bing and Stella on Gisela 6. These were planted in 2004, I believe, 2004, 2005. They're about 8 years old. We're with grower Jose Lozano. It's a very nice orchard, and we're going to talk about what we see here, Lynn Long, as he has in the other orchards in Chile. We'll talk about some of the pluses and minuses, and then we're actually going to prune one of these trees, and some of Jose's workers and Jose himself have been pruning. We've been discussing pruning. We're going to talk about a really interesting idea here that has a lot of pertinence for growers where bacterial canker is a big problem, and that is conducting most of your pruning in the summertime, in the late summertime, before there's going to be any, or after there will be any regrowth, and before leaf drop. So some of the things that we like in this orchard are that they're getting very good yields with really nice fruit size. The Bing crop here in 2011 peaked at about 75% of the harvest, between 26 and 28 millimeters in size. And so that's comparable to good Bing harvest anywhere in the world. You see the very nice leaf size on these trees. Both the new shoots and the spur leaves are very large. So the nutrition program here we're very impressed with. And you see very nice new growth on these trees. So all the things we're looking for to create good yields of very high quality fruit are present in this orchard on Gisela 6. We will then start to discuss some of the pruning cuts that contribute to the shape of these trees and the timing of doing those cuts.
Hi, I'm Lynn Long from Oregon State University, and we are standing right now in a Bing Gisela 6 block in Chile. And this is a central leader type training system that we have here that we're looking at. And there's a number of things that I really like about what I'm seeing here. One of the things that I like is this vigor that we're getting down here at the bottom of the tree. And I've said before that the key to knowing whether or not you've got enough vigor in your trees is how much vigor you have at eye level. And here we see we've got 18, 24 inches of growth in these trees, and at eye level. So we come over here, we can see it as well. And you know, that's really great. That's exactly what we want to see. You can get a lot of any tree, you can get a lot of vigor in the top of the tree. So don't worry about the vigor in the top of the tree, except for unless it gets too excessive, then you've got to reduce it. If it gets too excessive, then the thing to do is to prune in the summertime, right after harvest or sometime, so that you'll have a less vigorous response from the tree. These trees actually have been pruned in the summertime. Here in Chile, they're pruning them in February. Mid-February to mid-March is when the pruning gets done here. And they've been doing that in order to reduce the potential for bacterial canker. In some of these areas, bacterial canker is a very serious problem. And one of the ways you can deal with that is to prune in the summertime when the potential for rain and for infection is less. And so they've been pruning this in the summertime, and so far that's really working out well. My only concern about pruning trees regularly year in and year out in the summertime is because that's a less invigorating time of year to be pruning. And especially on a Gisela rootstock, my concern would be that eventually these trees might lose some vigor because of that timing. And so something to keep in mind, something to watch when we're pruning these types of trees on the Gisela rootstock. Other things that I like the size of these leaves. The leaves are great size. He's getting good size fruit, 26, 28 millimeters. That's a 10 row, 9.5 row cherry. So that's exactly where you should be with a Bing cherry. So those are all really good things. The other thing that they're doing here that is something that absolutely has to happen on a Gisela rootstock is that when they prune these trees, all of this new growth is tipped. This is very important when it comes to pruning trees on these productive rootstocks, whether it's Gisela or Krimsk or Maxima 14, whatever the productive rootstock is. You've got to tip all the branches, all of the new growth on the branches. Otherwise, you get a massive fruit here, and this is especially true with the very productive varieties like Lapins and Sweetheart and Chelan, but it's also true for varieties like Skeena and Bing, some of the less productive varieties. And so unless you tip that, what happens is that in the second year you get a massive of fruit there that gets distorted because it's pressed together, it's hard to pick, and it will stop the growth of the tree at that point. And so it's imperative that you tip all the branches all the time, and they've done that in this block, and it's working really well. Some of the concerns that I have about what I'm seeing here is some of this large wood in the top of the tree. You see this branch right here, it's coming out, it's coming over, shading everything down below. And notice I have a big gap here without any branches at all. And some of the branches that I have, like this one right here, it's getting smaller leaves, and look, there's no new growth on that shoot. And that's because there's a lot of shade in the top of this tree. Now Greg Lang is going to talk a little bit about how we deal with that here in a few minutes when he prunes a tree for us. But a renewal plan has got to be put in place in this block, and it needs to be put in place soon. Otherwise, you're going to lose the bottom portion of this tree. This is where the tree should be most productive, because your pickers are going to be most effective if they're picking these cherries from the ground. Once you get them on ladders, they're about half as productive. So you want the majority of your fruit to be harvested from the ground. So we're going to have to stub back some of this growth up here at the top so that we keep this part alive and vigorous down here. Right now, we're at a transition period. If we don't deal with this soon, we're going to be in trouble.